I was kicked out of my house on my 28th birthday. No presents. No congratulations. Just an old suitcase that I had to drag out the door like a criminal being banished from what I once called family. They told me, "You don't belong here. Don't ever come back." I stood in the pouring rain, clutching the only suitcase that contained what was left of a life I thought was peaceful. My clothes were soaked, my hair was stuck to my face, but I didn't cry. Not because I was strong. I was numb. The emotion at that moment was no longer tears. It was a hollowness in my chest. I trusted them. I considered them family. I devoted my youth, my strength, and my personal dreams to help them build a business that today was the thing they used to bury me. Welcome to Judgy Tales, where we tell the incredible but true stories of people who were pushed into a corner, then stood up, fought back, and turned the tables in ways no one expected. If you love stories of cold-blooded revenge, of justice restored through wit and bravery, you're in the right place. The story you're about to hear will make you angry, sympathetic, and most of all, elated. Because I didn't just get up from that fall. I used the cruelty they showed me to build an empire that brought them to their knees. They thought they could erase me from their lives like a name from a phone book. Little did they know, the moment they kicked me out of their house with nothing would be the beginning of the most expensive revenge of their lives. What did I do? I turned my anger into motivation. I turned invisibility into power. And I turned betrayal into millions. I didn't bang on doors demanding justice. I didn't cry for mercy. I got up, built from scratch, and the world took notice. Have you ever wondered what would happen if someone was betrayed, pushed to the bottom, but had the willpower to turn their bitterness into strategy? That's me. They think I'm weak. But they forget weak people, when they're deeply hurt, are the most dangerous. Because they have nothing left to lose. And they learn how to win. Don't forget. If you love stories like this, stay away from Judgy Tales. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because every week we bring you a story of revenge, justice, and resilience that you won't be able to stop listening to. Because sometimes silence is the loudest answer. And success is the sweetest revenge. I used to think that family was the only place you could return to, even if the whole world turned its back on you. I grew up in a small house in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. The house was not beautiful, not spacious, but every corner, every step was where I and my parents worked hard to build it. My family was not rich, but I never felt like I lacked anything because the love I received was always enough. But everything began to change after my father passed away. He died of a stroke very suddenly, no one was prepared. And immediately after that was a series of long days filled with tears, but not only because of the pain of losing a loved one, but because of the change of heart of the people I used to call family. After my father passed away, the house suddenly became a property that was fought over. The only person whose name was on it was my uncle, my father's younger brother, because he had been the one who guaranteed for my father to borrow money to open a small carpentry shop in town. There was nothing clear in the will because my father thought everything could be talked about in the house. The first mistake was believing that someone would protect me just because they were of the same blood. I am an only child. My mother died when I was 10 years old. After my father died, I had almost no one close to me. I lived with my father in that house from childhood until he died. But just a week after the funeral, my uncle sent me a paper asking me to leave the house within 14 days. No explanation. No negotiation. I still remember every word of what my uncle said when I came to ask to stay for a few more months. You should be independent. Everyone has to grow up. I didn't cry when I read the eviction notice. I cried when I closed the main door of the house for the last time, still holding my father's photo, knowing that no one was waiting for me inside. I moved to a small, cheap, shabby motel on the edge of town. The place smelled musty, the tap water never heated properly, and cockroaches appeared as regulars. I started working 3 jobs at once, selling in a second-hand clothing store in the morning, delivering for an app in the afternoon, and washing dishes in a diner at night. I had only one goal: to survive. The first few days were a struggle, going to work while trying to hide the shame of being thrown away by my family like something worthless. I avoided old acquaintances. I was ashamed, not because I was poor, but because I thought I had something to rely on. And the truth was, I had nothing but myself. Then one evening, delivering to a mansion in a wealthy neighborhood, I encountered something that changed my life. It was a small note attached to the order, handwritten, "Thank you for bringing a smile to my door. In this busy world, sometimes a thank you can make a difference." Just a few lines. But it made me realize, there are good people in the world. But if I wanted to live well, I couldn't just rely on kindness. I had to create my own path. And so I began. I used all my savings, about $600, to enroll in an online course on e-commerce. I learned about personal branding, how to sell online, how to manage my personal finances. I spent every night reading, learning design skills, taking photos, writing product descriptions. I had nothing in my hands, but pain, frustration, and a cold, scary determination. Gradually, I started a small shop on Etsy, selling simple handmade products. Scented candles, notebooks, quote prints. I didn't have a workshop, just a kitchen corner in my hostel. But I took care of each item as if it were for the only person I loved. Customers gradually returned. Then they introduced me to friends. I started to have regular orders. Then enough to quit one of my 3 jobs. I will never forget each time I received a 5-star review. It was like an invisible hug in the cold desert. But the most important thing is, I never told anyone in my old family about my new life. They didn't ask. I didn't tell them either. Because I knew one day I wouldn't just come back. I would come back to make them bow their heads. I still remember that afternoon, the sky as gray as my mood as I walked through the door of my foster parents' house for the last time. They didn't look at me. No one. Not a sympathetic look, not a goodbye. Just the sound of the door slamming behind me and the bitter cold of mid-December trying to push me away from the life I thought was home. It all started just a few weeks after my foster father passed away. He was the only person in that family who considered me as his own child. I will never forget the times he quietly put his hand on my shoulder whenever I felt lost, the wordless hugs, but filled with the comfort that an orphan like me always craved. When he was alive, my foster mother and their 2 biological children, Brian and Linda, were never too friendly with me, but at least they maintained a false civility, because he wanted it that way. But as soon as he died, the mask fell off. The week of the funeral, while I was still making funeral arrangements, they discussed the division of assets. I wasn't invited to join them, but I heard them laughing in the dining room, discussing investments, real estate, and the mementos my father had said he would leave me. When I walked in, the air was quiet. Brian looked at me as if I were an alien. Linda sneered, "Oh, you're here to claim your share?" I didn't know how to respond. I just said that my father had left a will, and I knew he wouldn't leave me empty-handed. My foster mother, who had been silent all along, stood up. She walked up to me, looked me straight in the eye and said, her voice full of venom, "My son is dead. And you should understand that you are no longer part of this family." I was stunned. "But you're adopted. Dad signed the adoption papers." "It was his fault," she interrupted, unflinching. "And now he's not here to protect you." I don't remember how I got out of the house. My hands were shaking. Memories of family holidays, of me standing in the kitchen helping Dad make his favorite gingerbread, suddenly shattered like a porcelain vase falling off the table. Piece by piece shattering. I had lived in that house for more than 10 years. I had nowhere else to go. As a child, I'd been in foster care. Some were so bad I still had nightmares. But from the day I was adopted, I thought I'd never have to go back. I believed I had a family. 3 days later, my family lawyer called. His voice was short and cold. "I'm sorry, but your name is not in his last will. The property will be distributed to his wife and 2 biological children according to state law." I was stunned. No inheritance. No house. No car. No savings account. No winter clothes. I had hoped they would at least give me time to find a new place to live, but no. I was ordered to leave within 48 hours. No exceptions. I asked my foster mother for a week to arrange a place to live. She just shrugged. "You're young, you're strong, you can go anywhere. This house doesn't have room for extra people." Brian carried my bags outside the door. Linda stood on the steps, a glass of wine in her hand, looking at me like I was a stain that needed to be wiped away. I wandered around the city. My bank account had less than $300. I had no family, no close friends because I spent most of my time between studying and helping my father in his furniture store. I called a few places for a job, but no one would take me. I slept on a park bench one night and the police woke me up at 3 a.m. I found a women's shelter. The room was just big enough for a single mattress and a sleeping bag. Every night I had to line up for a meal, mostly dry bread and watery soup. But at least I had a roof over my head. In the darkness of that night, the only thing left in me was anger. Anger at being betrayed. Anger at the broken promises my father made. Anger at not being able to do anything to save the things I loved. And in that anger I began to write down every single thing they had done, every detail, every piece, and I began to imagine. If I could stand up, if I could go back, I would make them regret it. But I didn't want revenge the way they did to me, selfish, cruel, and cheap. I wanted something more valuable. I wanted to take it all back, with intelligence, with courage. I wouldn't let my suffering go in vain. And that's when things started to change. I used to think that revenge was something for blind, hateful people, people who lost control of their anger. But the truth I learned is, revenge is not a flash but a long-term strategic game. A game that is won by those who are patient, who build up, and who win step by step. After they pushed me out of the house I called home, leaving me without a penny, I was left with nothing but determination and an iron will to endure. The feeling of betrayal, of being abandoned in the cold of hopelessness, it was like a cold fire burning inside me day and night. I didn't do it to get back at them by destroying them. I did it to show them how wrong they were to underestimate me. I wanted to be a living testament to the saying, "They sent me away with nothing, but I turned that nothing into millions of dollars." In the first days after leaving, I lived in a small rented room with cardboard boxes as a desk, and an old laptop as the only tool for me to start over. I started learning little by little about business, marketing, and finance. I spent long sleepless nights poring over every number, every business lesson from old books, every free online tutorial video. I realized one important thing. If I wanted to win, I couldn't just rely on anger or emotion. I had to become an excellent businessman, a respected leader, a symbol of success that no one could deny. I built my own brand starting from the smallest things. I focused on the niche market that they had ignored. Handmade products, close to nature, simple but sophisticated, the complete opposite of their flashy but rigid style. I knew that to win over modern customers, I needed to create not just products but experiences. Every order I sent out was accompanied by a sincere thank you. Every customer feedback was handled quickly and attentively. I built a loyal customer community through social media, creating inspiring stories and deep connections. While they were stuck in a rut and apathy, I kept innovating, learning, and creating. And then, the big turning point came when I started collecting small shares of the old company. Small shareholders, people who were disappointed and tired of the current management. I didn't rush, didn't attract attention, just quietly appeared as a normal investor with a proposal for reform and restructuring. When I owned enough shares to have an impact, I appeared before the board of directors in a meeting that they didn't expect. I was no longer the person who had been kicked out. Now I held the power of life and death in their hands. I detailed the restructuring plan, closing unprofitable branches, changing suppliers, reforming personnel, and especially using the modern business model that I had successfully built. The look in their eyes at that moment, surprise, panic, then helplessness, was the sweetest reward for all the months I had fought silently. I did not turn the old company into my own to take revenge in a destructive way. I wanted to build a stronger, more efficient company so that they could not deny the rise of what they had once despised. I kept the brand name as an indelible reminder. And the result? Profits soared, customers returned in droves, employees became more committed, and the competition, they could only look at me. My revenge plan is not a flash in the pan, but a series of strategic steps, day by day, hour by hour, to transform loss and hurt into lasting strength. I take revenge through success, through my own ability and perseverance. As my success began to spread, changes occurred not only at Henderson's but also in my personal life. From being abandoned, I suddenly became a symbol of strength and indomitable will. Everything changed to the point that those who had turned their backs on me, from friends, colleagues to relatives, now did not dare to deny my existence and influence. But success also brought with it a lot of pressure. I realized that to maintain what I had achieved, I needed more than intelligence or luck. I needed perseverance, humility to learn, and especially gratitude for the bitter lessons of the past. The feeling of satisfaction at having defeated them was no longer as great as the feeling of pride in myself for having risen from the brokenness to build a new life. The change in my relationship with my mother was one of the things I had never thought of before. At first, I didn't want her to have any role in my life because of the deep damage she caused. But when she walked into my office, her eyes filled with regret. I felt the loneliness and regret in every gesture. That was the moment I understood that, no matter how others treated me, family affection was still something that could not be completely severed. I decided to give her a chance, not to forget what had happened, but to find peace for myself. Brian, who used to be my #1 enemy, had completely disappeared from my life. After being fired, he tried everything to regain his position, including causing trouble at shareholder meetings or threatening partners. But I did not let myself be drawn into those dirty games. I chose to face it calmly and legally. I hired a lawyer to handle the arising problems and make sure there were no loopholes for Brian to take advantage of. This caused him to gradually lose all his prestige and influence in the business world, and in the end he was forced to withdraw from all activities related to the company. But more than taking down those who had abandoned me, I devoted a lot of effort to rebuilding the company's image in a more positive direction. I wanted Henderson's to no longer be a place of internal conflicts and struggles, but a friendly, creative, and humane working environment. I organized soft skills training sessions, team-building activities, and encouraged everyone to share ideas. That not only increased work efficiency but also helped employees bond with the company more. During the rebuilding process, I encountered many difficulties. Many people were still skeptical about my leadership ability, especially longtime employees or former shareholders. They thought that I was just an outsider who had luckily entered and was not capable of managing a large company like Henderson's. But I didn't let those criticisms deter me. I backed it up with concrete results, with quarterly profit growth and with ever-increasing customer satisfaction. Another important part of this journey was finding true partners. These were industry experts, investors who believed in my vision, and dedicated colleagues. They helped me scale the company, develop new projects, and improve products. The relationship with them was built on honesty, respect, and cooperation, not on power struggles or personal gain. My success story quickly spread, attracting the attention of the press and media. Many articles praised me as a role model, a symbol of resilience and creativity in business. I was invited to participate in seminars, TV shows, and community events to share my story and inspire others. But there were also people who were jealous and tried to tarnish my reputation. They spread false rumors, speculated about business secrets or personal life. I understand that it is an inevitable part of being in the spotlight. I chose to stay silent and let time prove the truth. The climax of the story was when the company officially recorded a record profit in the past 5 years, surprising not only shareholders but also the entire industry. I created a revolution not only in the company but also in the way people perceived me, from an abandoned person to a brilliant winner. However, behind all the glitz and success, I still hold in my heart old wounds, memories that are not easy to forget. I cannot forget the nights of crying, the lonely days, and the times of being looked down upon. But it was those experiences that tempered me, turned me into a resilient person who never gave up. My story ends not with a period but with an ellipsis. Because life always goes on and new challenges are still waiting ahead. But I am ready to face them with faith and confidence that I have never had before. I want to tell everyone that, wherever you are, whatever difficulties you are facing, never give up. Success is not an accident, but the result of perseverance, courage, and an indomitable spirit. There are stories like this, you have heard them, but really standing in the middle of life, which path will you choose? The journey I just told is not just a simple series of events, but a living testament to the power of resilience, self-esteem, and the spirit of not giving up in the face of adversity. However, it also raises countless questions for each of us, and it is those questions that make this story not only an entertaining story but also a valuable lesson, a challenge for your soul. What do you think when someone who used to be a family member can abandon you in the most difficult time? Is that completely acceptable, or is it an action that no one should go through? And if you fall into that situation, what will you do? Leave or fight to the end to demand justice? My story is proof that endurance is not always the only option. There are times when you need to stand up, take back your power, and assert your position through your own efforts, talents, and intelligence. But that also raises the question, is revenge the best way to resolve things? Or does it only make things more tense and prolong unnecessary pain? I want to know what you think. Have you ever experienced being abandoned, treated unfairly by those closest to you? How did you react? Was silence a way to preserve your dignity, or did resistance help you find your own voice? I also want to know what you think about the role of forgiveness in stories like this. In the process of rebuilding my life, I had to face the task of forgiving those who had hurt me, especially my mother. This was not an easy thing. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or accepting the mistakes of others, but freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and hatred. Do you agree with this point of view? Have you ever forgiven someone and felt lighter? This story also made me ponder the concept of success. Is success simply money, fame, or is it also peace of mind, understanding, and love in relationships? I have gone through dark days and then rose to great success, but what makes me feel happiest is when I see people around me happy and respected. What do you think? What is your success related to? I also want to ask a very practical question. Do you think that everyone has the opportunity to start over, to overcome adversity? In my story, luck and effort helped me overcome everything. But what about you? Have you ever thought about changing your life from a bad situation? Have you ever looked for a way to move forward after being defeated? Also, I would love to hear your opinions on how to handle conflicts in your family and at work. In this story, I chose to confront, persevere, and have a clear strategy to reclaim my rights. But sometimes there are people who choose to step back, maintain peace, or seek outside help to resolve. What would you do if you were me? Do you believe in the power of human change? Can those who have hurt me change? And will you allow them the opportunity to change? This is also a big question that I ask myself in this journey. I also want to know how you feel about social justice through this story. Is life always tilted towards the lucky or those who have power? Or is true justice when we stand up and fight with our own abilities? Finally, I want to emphasize that each story like this is not just my story or that of an individual, but a common voice for many people who have gone through similar challenges. Do you want to share your own story? Do you feel empathy and find comfort in these shares? I would love to receive feedback from you. Please leave a comment below with your thoughts, experiences, or questions. Your stories not only help me understand better but also help everyone in our community feel connected and shared. And don't forget, if you find this story inspiring, click like and subscribe to Judgy Tales channel so you don't miss other emotional and meaningful videos. Turn on the notification bell to always be updated as soon as possible. Thank you for listening and joining us on this journey. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's story on the Judgy Tales channel. If you find this video meaningful, touching, or inspiring, don't forget to give us a like. The like button not only helps our videos reach more people, but it is also a way for you to show your support and encouragement for the honest and emotional stories that we want to send to everyone. If you are not yet a member of the Judgy Tales family, quickly press the subscribe button now so you don't miss any future videos. Every week, we prepare real, profound stories that have the power to connect emotionally and open up new perspectives on life, family, betrayal, and how we overcome adversity. Subscribing to the channel is the best way for you to accompany us on this journey. Especially, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that every time we release a new video, you will receive a notification immediately. You will not have to worry about missing out on good stories, important life lessons, as well as humane sharing articles that the channel brings. Turning on notifications also helps you become the first to watch, discuss, and share your views with our community. In addition, please take a moment to comment below the video. We appreciate all your opinions, feelings, and stories. Comments not only help connect people, create a vibrant sharing community, but also are a great motivation for us to make more quality videos. Don't hesitate to tell us your story, whether it is a heartbreaking experience or a turning point in life. We are here to listen and share with you. If you know someone who is also going through difficult circumstances, or has been treated unfairly like in the video, please share this video with them. Who knows, it will help them feel less lonely, find faith and motivation to overcome all challenges. The power of real stories and empathy is the strongest bridge between people. Finally, Judgy Tales is always committed to bringing you genuine, profound, and meaningful content. You are the reason why we constantly strive and create. Please continue to follow and accompany us on the journey to discover dramatic everyday stories, heart-touching lives, and valuable life lessons. Once again, thank you very much for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell now. See you in the next videos of Judgy Tales.